Every few years, a new hint surfaces. Budget lines with no explanation. A sudden expansion of a facility famous for impossible aircraft. None of it is definitive, but together it suggests something new is moving through restricted airspace. That possibility is the SR-72 Darkstar, a concept built to reach Mach 6 and operate beyond the range of modern defenses. What follows is a closer look at the engineering behind this machine that borders on improbability and the strategic consequences of an aircraft that fast. Before any discussion of the SR-72, the SR-71 must take center stage. The Blackbird was not just a remarkable reconnaissance platform. It was an engineering statement that speed and altitude could overpower even the most advanced air defenses of its era. It flew beyond Mach 3. It reached altitudes above 85,000 feet, and throughout its operational life, every recorded attempt to shoot it down failed. That is historically documented. More than 4,000 missile launches or radar-tracked engagements were attempted, but not one reached the aircraft. This becomes even more astonishing when you remember the SR-71 was designed in the 1960s. There were no modern supercomputers guiding its airflow modeling and no digital drafting rooms. It was built during the Cold War with slide rules and intuition. Yet more than 5 decades later, no air-breathing aircraft has publicly broken its speed record. That fact alone shows the gap between what was once achieved and what most nations still cannot replicate. But the story does not end with its retirement. When the SR-71 left service, the need it fulfilled did not vanish. The world changed. New adversaries emerged. New types of air defenses appeared. Space-based surveillance grew. But satellites have predictable orbits. The military needed something that could appear anywhere with almost no warning and leave before defenses even understood what they were reacting to. That capability still mattered then, and it still matters today. And this is the empty space the SR-72 concept was created to fill. Mach 6 is not simply twice as fast as Mach 3. It moves an aircraft into a completely different aerodynamic environment. At this speed, the air behaves more like a physical barrier than an invisible fluid, and the way the aircraft interacts with it becomes fundamentally different. The atmosphere at high altitude thins out, but the compression at the nose and leading edges intensifies dramatically. That compression creates heat, pressure, and also shock interactions that only a handful of countries have even experimented with. But the strategic implications are even more important. Radar systems depend on time. They send out a pulse, wait for it to reflect, and then process the return. That cycle takes fractions of a second, but it's fine at normal aircraft velocities. At hypersonic speed, those fractions become huge distances. A Mach 6 aircraft travels more than a mile per second. By the time a radar return is processed, the aircraft is no longer anywhere near that point. Operators are essentially tracking ghosts. And even if a missile is launched, it faces an impossible equation. Guidance computers use predictive algorithms to calculate where the target will be when the missile arrives. But prediction fails when the target's velocity compresses the engagement window into time that's too small for meaningful correction. The aircraft is gone before any interceptor can adjust course. This is not an exaggeration. The limits of radar refresh rates and seeker sensitivity are publicly known. There is also the issue of altitude. A hypersonic aircraft could operate in a region where most interceptors cannot maintain energy. The combination of extreme speed and stratospheric flight gives it access to corridors traditional aircraft cannot reach. Modern air defenses were built to counter stealth aircraft, ballistic missiles, and cruise missiles. A reusable platform that flies at Mach 6 sits between all three and behaves like none of them. That is why Mach 6 matters. It is not just fast, it is strategically disruptive. As you're hearing this, ask yourself something. Is speed becoming more important than stealth in modern air power? Let us know what you think in the comments below. We love hearing your insights. Now, onto the engine that makes hypersonic flight possible. The turbine-based combined cycle engine is the centerpiece of the SR-72 concept. Understanding why it is so groundbreaking requires a closer look at airflow physics. A turbine engine relies on slowing incoming air, so the compressor can pressurize it effectively. A scramjet does the opposite. It relies on air remaining supersonic as it passes through the combustion chamber. These demands are naturally incompatible. Think of it this way: one wants compressed subsonic airflow, while the other wants high-velocity, supersonic airflow. So how do you merge these systems? Engineers built an inlet capable of managing multiple shockwave patterns at different speeds. At Mach 2 or Mach 3, internal shocks must be placed precisely to feed the turbine's stable airflow. As the speed increases, those shocks must be repositioned to allow a scramjet to function. If the shock pattern collapses, the engine experiences an unstart, which is a violent loss of airflow that can destabilize the aircraft. The SR-71 dealt with this problem constantly, and managing unstarts was part of flying it. What makes the combined cycle engine different is that it must guide airflow into two completely different propulsion systems without losing stability. Lockheed Martin and Aerojet Rocketdyne have publicly stated that transition testing was successful. This does not mean a full-scale engine is flying. That remains classified. But the underlying research is real. NASA's X-43 reached speeds above Mach 9 using a scramjet. The Air Force's X-51 demonstrated multi-second sustained scramjet operation. These programs proved that scramjets work. What they did not prove is runway to hypersonic flight, which is the leap Skunk Works claims to have bridged. The combined cycle engine is the link that makes the SR-72 plausible. It is the missing piece that turns a concept into something aerospace engineers take seriously. But building an engine is only half the battle. Once that's done, the aircraft has to survive an entirely different enemy. Aerothermal heating is the largest obstacle to hypersonic flight. Temperatures rise sharply as velocity increases because the air is no longer flowing cleanly around the aircraft. Instead, it compresses into a tight boundary layer that becomes hotter and denser the faster the aircraft moves. At Mach 3, the leading edges are already hot enough to glow faintly, past the structural limits of many metals. This heat does not just affect the skin, it penetrates inward. Avionics must be insulated from thermal spikes. Fuel must remain cool enough to serve as an active heat sink. Even internal wiring and hydraulic systems must withstand extreme temperatures. The SR-71 solution was clever. JP-7 fuel circulated through the aircraft to absorb heat before feeding the engines. The fuel itself was so stable it required a chemical igniter to burn. The SR-72 would need an evolution of that idea. Carbon composites provide one answer. They can survive temperatures far above those reached by titanium alloys and were used extensively on the space shuttle's nose and wing edges. But carbon-carbon alone cannot form an entire aircraft structure. It must be paired with metals or composites that can handle stress and vibration without fracturing. What remains classified is how Skunk Works balances these materials. Some hypersonic concepts rely on a hot structure, where the airframe operates at extremely high temperature by design. Others mimic the space shuttle with a cold structure, protected by insulating layers. The SR-72 could use either approach or a hybrid. The exact solution remains undisclosed, but the physics dictating the need for these materials is well understood. Thermal control is only one part of the puzzle. There's another challenge at Mach 6 that we haven't touched yet, and it might be even harder to solve. How do you communicate with an aircraft moving so fast that ionized air begins to block radio signals? Make sure you stick around because we'll return to that question near the end. And if you're enjoying the video so far, don't forget to show your support by liking it and subscribing to the channel. When early descriptions of the SR-72 mentioned that it would be unmanned, it sparked speculation. But the reasoning is straightforward and rooted in practical limits. Human pilots cannot safely endure the thermal loads, G-forces, or reaction time demands of true hypersonic maneuvering. Even the fastest crewed aircraft of the past did not operate anywhere near Mach 6. Additionally, at these speeds, distances close so quickly that onboard autonomy becomes essential. Remote control is impossible because communication delays are far too slow relative to the speed of travel. Any hypersonic aircraft must make split-second corrections based on onboard systems. What is unknown is whether any version of the SR-72 could be optionally piloted. This remains speculation with no confirmed source. Based on available data, the most realistic interpretation is that the SR-72, if operational, would be autonomous with human oversight occurring outside the immediate flight loop. Hypersonic speed unlocks mission possibilities no current aircraft can match. One of the most valuable is intelligence collection. Satellites offer incredible resolution and coverage, but they follow predictable orbits. Nations with sensitive facilities track those orbits and hide activity during satellite windows. A hypersonic aircraft breaks that pattern entirely. It can appear over a location without warning and depart before defenses can react. Another major mission is time-sensitive targeting. Many modern threats move or hide quickly. Mobile missile systems can be relocated in minutes. Command vehicles can disperse. Air defense sites can shut down. By the time a traditional aircraft reaches the area, the target is long gone. A Mach 6 aircraft can cover strategic distances so rapidly that fleeting targets remain within reach. This capability has been highlighted repeatedly in open Pentagon reports that discuss deep reach and global access challenges. There is also the issue of contested airspace. Advanced integrated air defense systems are built to track and engage stealth aircraft using multiple radar frequencies. But those systems are bound by the laws of engagement geometry. They cannot intercept what they cannot align a firing solution on. A hypersonic aircraft does not avoid detection, it outruns reactions. Pair that speed with hypersonic strike weapons, a capability Lockheed Martin has openly discussed in non-classified contexts, and the result is a platform that alters the timeline of any conflict it enters. Even if SR-72 remains unconfirmed, the mission it addresses is unmistakably real. Outside classified circles, the public only caught a glimpse of what such an aircraft might look like in a very unexpected place. When the film Top Gun: Maverick featured a fictional aircraft named Darkstar, many viewers dismissed it as Hollywood fiction. But what is documented is that Skunk Works assisted with the aircraft design seen on screen. They built a full-scale model. They advised the creative team. They shaped its silhouette based on real hypersonic research. This does not prove the SR-72 exists. It does not confirm flight testing. But it does show that Skunk Works chose to put a hypersonic aircraft shape in front of the entire world. When foreign intelligence agencies focused their satellites on the set thinking it might be real, that reaction said as much about global expectations as it did about the aircraft itself. The real significance is not that the movie exposed a secret. It is that the design community behind hypersonic research took the opportunity to influence how the public imagines the next step in American aviation. And when you look away from the movie set and toward real facilities and real budgets, the signs of a true program start to appear. The indicators surrounding the SR-72 are subtle but consistent. When Lockheed Martin expanded its Palmdale campus, the new facility was described as a center for digital aircraft design and rapid prototyping. These are not features of a research-only facility. They are features associated with manufacturing complex hardware. The scale of Building 648 suggests preparation for constructing large structures rather than small experimental components. Financial records add another layer. Classified program cost overruns typically occur when a project moves from paper design to producing real hardware. Material testing, prototype fabrication, and early flight or ground tests often introduce unpredictable expenses. Lockheed's disclosures show such overruns linked to an unspecified classified aeronautical program. This pattern has appeared in past programs that were later revealed to involve real aircraft. The next step is understanding what is actually known about the SR-72 and what remains behind locked doors. What is known is straightforward. The technology needed for a Mach 6 aircraft exists. Combined cycle propulsion has been demonstrated in subscale testing. Materials capable of surviving extreme heat are well established. The United States has stated openly that hypersonic systems are a strategic priority. What remains classified includes any confirmation of a functional prototype, details of flight testing, operational speed, range, materials, autonomy systems, and whether the program is nearing transition to the Air Force. It is equally important to note what is not claimed. There is no verified evidence that the SR-72 is operational today. There is no confirmed sighting of a flight article, and there is no official statement that the aircraft will enter service at any specific date. But why is this important? Because understanding what's confirmed and what isn't sets the stage for the real question: what will a Mach 6 aircraft actually mean for global power? A hypersonic aircraft, if it exists or if it becomes operational in the future, would not replace stealth platforms. It would complement them in ways that create a larger strategic advantage. Stealth reduces detection probability. Hypersonic speed reduces reaction possibility. Together, they form a combined effect far greater than either one alone. A platform that can arrive anywhere quickly and collect information before an adversary can hide activity changes how nations operate and defend their territory. Even the possibility that such an aircraft is in development influences strategic thinking abroad. That is exactly what happened with the SR-71. Its presence altered the balance of reconnaissance for decades. The SR-72 concept represents the next natural step in that lineage, built not on nostalgia, but on the practical needs of modern geopolitics and the physics of detection. Even without confirmation of a flying prototype, the pursuit of hypersonic aircraft shapes defense planning around the world. The SR-72. Darkstar sits at the edge between what has been revealed and what is still hidden. The underlying technologies are real. The mission's need is real. Industrial investment is real. Whether the aircraft itself has flown is still behind closed doors. Tell us in the comments which part of the SR-72 story you want uncovered next. Your input is highly valued. And if you want more deep dives like this one, make sure to like the video and share it with your friends.